Okay, we're live on the 5-minute bark here today. We've got Jason Goldberg from Meometry, and wow, we're so excited. We've been going back and forth on Facebook, and I just saw one of his awesome videos the other day, and I was like, how am I going to keep up with this guy here today on the 5-minute bark? He's got so much energy, and today I made sure he didn't have enough coffee, so he's a little mellower for us here today on the show. So
that's what you think, brother.
Oh, no, look at this. He's got the Baskin Robbins going. My friend has a couple of Baskin Robbins here in San Diego, actually. So, nice. Yes, we've got Jason Goldberg here today from Meometry. Say hello, everybody, and tell everybody about who you are.
What up, D? Hey, thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it. It's exciting to be here, and anything that's dog-related, I'm in. We were talking about this earlier, and I have my pit bull Lola. I didn't see, what kind of dog is it that you have? It's adorable. But
I have an Australian cattle dog. So
what is that? Did they shed a lot or no?
Yes, she does, and I've been shaving her lately, and it's been really helping a lot. So
try not to wear too much black, right? So you don't see all the hair all over you. Yeah,
I got
that's
my
awesome,
black on today. So
cool. So yeah, super stoked to be here, man. Super stoked to be here. Yeah, we met through Facebook. We met through Christina Berkeley, who you had on the show recently, who's awesome, who I just love more than anything in the world, and I know you do too.
She's a natural energy smile. She's awesome.
She is. Yeah, she's a huge heart, huge brain, and just an amazing woman and amazing coach.
Awesome. So let's tell everybody about you. I mean, there's so much going on. I mean, I didn't even look. This bio you sent me is like 10 pages long here, and I mean, like so many.
Yeah,
cool
it's in chapters. Yeah, you have to read it. It's like a trilogy. It's like, the Hunger Games. You got to watch it in different sections and books. So I'm based in Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina. Just moved here almost coming up on 2 years now. I was born and raised in Florida, so I was there really my entire life until about 18 months ago in Orlando. So moved here with my wife Alicia and my dog Lola. And love it here, getting the seasons. Although it's really warm here. It's probably colder in San Diego right now than it is in Raleigh.
It's freezing here. I don't know what to do about this. I mean, it's cold. I mean, I got like 40 degrees the other night.
What?
Yeah, that's not heard of in San Diego. So.
See, I love that. I would much rather put on layers than have to like strip things off. So I dig being in the cold weather. So send us some cold weather here. But it's been great being here in Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina. I travel a lot to the West Coast, like I was telling you, for work, and primarily the type of work I do now is I'm a speaker, internationally, professional speaker, professional coach, and I've written an ebook, but my first actual book will be out in a few months, so I can add author to that list there, and just work a lot with entrepreneurs and leaders and other coaches, and speak a lot at corporations and conferences and events and things like that, and just try to have as much fun as possible, man. I love having fun with life. I think we take things way too seriously in the world, and so my goal is to bring some not so seriousness into people's worlds.
That's awesome. As I explained also before the show, as I'm now starting to go and promote myself, I've got the podcast established, and I've got my software established, and now I'm going to go out and do a lot of speaking as well. And so I'm excited about that road trip before. I mean, I've done thousands of events speaking, but on a different kind of level.
You were epic with like all the BMX stuff and the sports stuff. Yeah.
So this is a different avenue, but it's the same. And so it's like, I'm excited and a little nervous at the same time, but it's one of those things, and I guess you relate to it too. And the audience out there, if you're a speaker, you'll kind of relate to this, is when the lights go on and the button is pressed, you just change. You just change and you just go for it. And you really just are attracted to the challenge of like entertaining and educating and inspiring. It's just so fun. I mean, I used to just play with the crowds and just have a lot of fun with it. So I'm sure you do
that's
too.
The best way. Yeah, if people are entertained, they learn and they absorb and they really get what you're saying. It's such a core level compared to if you just like try to shove information down their throat and be really dry and analytical and statistical. And there are some audiences that probably love that, the engineering audiences and whatnot. But the rest of us, we got to be entertained. We got to have something to lighten our spirits so we can really get into it. And the cool thing about what you did, though, and it's funny you brought this up, because I'm betting a lot of people that watch this have gone through the same thing. Like when you're transitioning from one thing to another, you've been really successful in one thing, now you're going to do something else, and it's like super scary. I had that same thing happen to me. I was in IT for 15 years before I left and became an entrepreneur, and I've started a few companies before I became a speaker and a coach. But one of the most awesome things that I found through being coached myself and also through coaching others is that your success is transferable. the skills that you had that made you successful when you were speaking before, Dennis, on a previous
Absolutely.
topic,
Absolutely.
that's still going to be there. Like your ability to engage and your ability to inspire and your ability to perform and entertain, like all that stuff is there. And it's about us getting creative to see how can we pick that stuff up and move it to the new thing we're doing.
That is so true because I used to have this company called Perfection on Wheels, and all the employees, I was like, you're learning a lot here today. I mean, you're going to learn how to speak in front of people. You're going to learn how to deal with all kinds of business, and they've all obviously moved on to different things. And like they'll always call me back and say, Dennis, thank God I learned this, or thank God I pay attention to this. And if you're out there listening, this is a big thing. It's like if you're moving from job to job, there's definitely talents you can carry on to other things, and just enrich yourself with what you're learning right now, because it's so important to grow and just see where those tools are going to fit in later on, because you're learning tools now that are preset for later on, and it's really exciting. So
Absolutely, man. I don't care if you're working at Starbucks or Walmart or you're a CEO of a company. There are fundamental lowest common denominator skills that exist in all those roles that are completely portable and completely transferable and really impactful in any other role that you'd be in.
So speaking of all of this, we're now ending 2015, and I saw that video of what you're talking about with the why, and I just love that because that's exactly what I've been trying to put upon myself, number one, and obviously podcast as well as the why. And you were so excited, and I think we should talk about that for everybody here today. And the why
sure.
is what really makes everything happen. This sure, I want a great car, sure, I want a big business, all this kind of stuff, but really why you want to do it. So.
Yeah, well, and so my belief in that, and the video that you're referencing is kind of talking about, the reasons, my belief in the reasons that New Year's resolutions don't stick. And this is not like anything I talk about in writing or speaking or videos or whatever. This is not like an intellectual exercise where I went out and did surveys. This is me screwing up and sucking at things and then saying, why did I screw up and why did I suck at that? Like, let's figure this out, right? So I'm on the same path that everybody else is when they're seeking answers. And for me, in my own experience, and then finally seeing it with other people, is that there were mainly two big things that were missing when I was making New Year's resolutions. And one of them was really my why, right? We're really good at the what. Right. And some people maybe even need some help with the what. But once you get to a certain point, you're like, oh, I know exactly what I want. Like you said, Dennis, like a car, or I want this level of revenue, or I want this amazing relationship, or, we know the what. The why, though, tends to escape us. Right. The real true reason behind why it is that we say, we want the thing that we want. And there's even another part to it, too. And we can dig into both of these. But beneath the what, so the what's at the very top, then there's the why. And then even beneath the why is the who. And it's really who you need to be in order to create all these results in your life. So I'm happy to go into any of that stuff, whichever is most inspiring to you. Let's dive in.
I want you to just talk about what you're good at, and you're inspiring me right now. So keep going.
Cool. So. Yeah, no, that's cool. So I mean, the thing about the why, and this is not something that I made up on my own. Simon Sinek is really one of the people that has really brought this into the mainstream with his book Start With Why, and it's a fantastic TED Talk if you haven't seen it. I think the actual TED Talk is called How Great Leaders Inspire. I think that's what it's actually called. It's not called Start With Why, but it is this whole thing. And what he talks about is that, the greatest companies in the world, and really you can kind of, again, it's portable and transferable to talk about anybody creating anything. They start with why. They say, why do I actually want this? So when I say, I want to lose weight or I want to be healthier, and for me, I've done that. I was 330 pounds a few years ago and I've lost 150 pounds. Yeah. And it's been a crazy journey, but until I got in touch with why I wanted to lose weight, what it afforded me in my world that I didn't have when I was heavy, it didn't stick. And that's why for years and years and years, I would try, crash diets, and I would, starve myself, or I would try Atkins and try Weight Watchers and try all these things that can be effective. There's nothing wrong with any of these diets. Right. But the fact was that I wasn't in touch with why I was actually doing it. I was instead just looking at it as this surface thing where, okay, yeah, I want to lose weight. And that's just it, because I need to lose weight. Right? Like, how many times do you do things in an inspired and purposeful way just because you think you need to? Like, it's not inspiring to think you should do something or need to do something. So it was really getting more in touch with that why.
Yeah. And it's funny because I just go and lose weight just for the fun of it, just to do it. And and some people have to take it serious, but being a professional athlete, I've just trained myself that's a challenge. I got this. This is it becomes something for me. But you're right. The whole why I want to look better. I want to show up better. I want to believe in myself more, right? Mm-hmm. Instead of, I just want to lose the weight, but it's really why. Why do I want to learn a newer language? Why I want to be in this podcast here with you, why? And it's a question that burns the brain, because that's the one that you have to answer in order for all the rest to work. you
Yeah.
know, and,
Yeah.
and
And it can be fun, right? It doesn't and that's the other part of it is that, a lot of people hear that, oh, I need my why. Well, now it becomes another pressure-filled exercise. Like, oh my God, I have to find my why and nothing's going to work if I don't find my why. And that's taking even that too seriously. It doesn't have
yeah,
to be a serious thing. It can be a
yeah,
fun thing. It can be a relaxed thing. It could be like, this is really cool. Like, I really enjoy doing a podcast. What are the other things that are going to really keep me motivated? What's the thing that if I put it on a neon sign in front of my desk, that anytime I wanted to quit, looking at that neon sign would make me go, oh, yeah, okay, now I remember why I'm doing this. I'm going to get back to work. And it's
yep,
like when you can find that thing, no matter how simple it may seem, it can be really powerful. So for me, I can say, oh, I want to be on stage and I want to perform and I want to speak and I want to do all these things that I'm doing in my business. And there are times when it gets really stressful and I'm traveling a lot, or the sales cycle's long, or it just sucks to think about putting together a talk because I'm not feeling inspired. And
right,
so those things don't help at all. Like just saying I want to be on stage, that doesn't help me to push through and make that stuff happen. But when I go back to thinking like, okay, what's my why? Well, my why is that I know that I'm gifted in making people laugh and making people think. And it makes me feel so fulfilled and so alive and so enthusiastic inside when I'm able to share my message and I'm able to see a response of people that really get it and their lives are improved. And I'm like, oh, okay. All right, I'm going to get back to work because now I feel it again. I'm like, okay, now I remember why I'm doing this instead of it just being this surface thing. I want to be on stage, and that wears off.
right. I can't tell you how many times I've because I was getting coached from a good friend of mine, Jim Case, for a while, and we kind of came across some things like I'm not a good scheduler. I can't have a schedule. I mean, I've never had one in my life, and now I'm trying to plan things. Like you're gonna meditate for 10 minutes. You're gonna blah 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 blah. And I was like strict schedule. And it's like driving me nuts. And he's like, and I said, Jim, I'm struggling with this. It's just like I feel like a machine, and I don't feel like me anymore. He's like, well then don't do it. And I said, well,
Yeah.
this is what I'm trying to do. He says, well, then don't do it. And he says, you know what, Dennis, what's going to happen is if you just don't do it and be okay with it. And the key thing is to be okay with it. I'm not going to do it. It's okay. You're going to end up wanting to do it later on in the day anyway. So,
Right.
because you forgive yourself from it, and then you're going to go, well, okay, now I'm in the mood of doing it. Because if you're not in the mood to do something, if you don't have the reasons, then don't do it. And
Right.
then you'll find that innerly you really want to do it. It just the mindset wasn't right then, or you weren't in a situation where you were ready. So, I mean, how many times you say, well, I just, I'm too tired to get up. So you just like, okay, I'm just going to give myself, I'm going to privilege myself this rest. And all of a sudden you go, okay, I'm done with this rest now. I'm ready to get up, So
Yeah.
it's a little mind game we have to play with ourselves. And so many people out there and go look at me and they go, oh my God, Dennis, you're just so motivated. I have my days. I have them a lot. But I
Sure.
just have the right tools in place, right? We have the right tools in place and the right mindset that we exercise to get us past those situations, to get that accomplishment done. Whether it's a little tiny accomplishment, even a little,
Yeah.
hey, I got to write a paragraph in my book today, just a sentence, whatever. It's something to fall upon. It's one of those things like, I don't want to go to the gym. Okay, if I just go to the gym, pull into the parking lot and leave, at least I went toward the action. But what happens is you get to the parking lot and you go, okay, well, I'm going to go in now. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Yeah, people ask me that all the time. We were talking about this earlier too. We're both early risers, so I'm part of the 5 o'clock club, 5 a.m. club, and people that follow me online know I post things that hashtag no sweat, go sweat, and so I'll go to the gym super early in the morning, and people say, how do you get motivated to go to the gym? And my answer is, I go to the gym. Like that's how you get the motivation to do the thing. The motivation is not a prerequisite, it's a byproduct.
Yep.
And so when we start realizing that it's simply a choice, that we don't need to wait for motivation, we don't need to take our emotional temperature constantly and say, oh, I don't feel like doing it. You don't have to force yourself to do it. And there's this fine line between listening to your body when you've been pushing yourself too hard and realizing that pushing harder is not going to be the solution. And other times when you realize, listen, I'm choosing to be lazy. I'm choosing not to take action right now. And I can just as easily choose to take action instead. It's always a choice in every moment.
awesome. So meometry, I want to hear more about this. I'm going to tell you, and I guess my crowd's already heard it before, but I don't really do much research on anybody before I go on the show. And it sounds kind of unprofessional or anything, but I kind of like to learn with my guests and learn about people like right here on the show. It's like, this works good for me. So
Yeah.
I've got this huge bio in front of you, and obviously skim through it, but I want the people and myself to learn about meometry here today, and tell us about some of the great things you've been doing, because obviously you're doing great things. And by the way, I love your background. It's just like it's keeping.
Oh, thank you.
It's
Orange is
keeping
my
me engaged.
color.
Oh,
Yeah, orange is the color of creativity. It's the creativity chakra, and it has to do with passion and liveliness and energy. So orange is, it's in my logo and it's on my wall. And some people say it's butterscotch. I totally disagree with them, but it's orange. I'm telling you, it's orange.
I've got the same color in my bedroom, actually, on my
Nice,
facing
nice.
wall.
That's awesome. That's good. Well, it's good for sensuality too, I think, actually. I think orange is a sensual color, so it's good that it's in the bedroom. Yeah, so meometry was a name that I kind of came up with a few years ago when I started my company. I don't know how much I really use it or think about it anymore. It kind of was just the brand. Now
Yeah.
it's more just Jason Goldberg. But I still enjoy and still like where it came from. And the suffix of metry or ometry is a measure of something, right? Like geometry, right? It's a measure of angles and things like that. So meometry is basically saying that it's finding your own measure of happiness, your own measure of success, your own measure of fulfillment. And there's as many meometries as there are people, right? It's different for every single person. So it's really just kind of hopefully inviting people to see that you don't have to take on anybody else's definition of success or happiness and fulfillment. It doesn't have to be money. It can be money. It doesn't have to be status. It can be status, but it's all these things that it's really going back to the why, figuring out what really truly fulfills you, and then going in that direction purposefully, moment by moment, day by day.
Yeah, I just love it. So,
That's what I love. Yeah.
and you said you're traveling a lot to do these type of things for meometry, or is it just for the companies you're working with?
Yeah, so I mean, Meometry is my company, so everything I
Okay.
do is under Meometry. But yeah, no, I speak at a lot of conventions and do corporate work, and as of this year, I've been international. I did a talk not too long ago at a thing called Awesomeness Fest. Have you heard about Awesomeness Fest?
No, but it sounds good. I want to be there.
It's really cool. You would love it, dude. It's from Mind Valley, which we were talking about earlier. Mind Valley, huge personal development company, and they have a twice a year festival they put together called Awesomeness Fest. This last one was in Costa Rica. The next one's coming up in May in Mykonos, Greece, and then later on in 2016, they're thinking it may be Cuba, which would actually be pretty cool. But they get these exotic locations. They bring in world-class speakers, and it's 400 people. They're all very like-minded. It's like a combination of Burning Man and TED Talks.
Wow.
So like during the day it's TED Talks, at the nighttime it's like huge parties, and it's just an amazing experience. And so I spoke there a few months ago, and it's been a lot of fun, man. Being on stage is what I love doing, and speaking to people. It's been great, man. I really enjoy it.
What's been your best speech ever?
My best speech ever. My best speech ever hasn't happened. I'll never call any speech my best speech ever, because then I won't have any room to grow. So I'm going to say that my best speech has yet to come. But all my speeches are fun, because what I say is, and I say this jokingly, but I'm not totally joking, is that if I come off stage and not one person's life was changed, but everybody laughed, then I've done my job. And of course, my belief is that if they laugh, something will transform in them, because it opens them up to hear the message. But my core message that I really speak about everywhere I go is I really share my story, my journey of my corporate success, and also the real kind of deep, dark places that I've been with stress and anxiety and depression and suicidal thoughts and all these things that plagued me my entire life. And then also my transformation away from that into what I call being a self-leader. And so what I say is that for the first 30 or so years of my life, I lived as a prisoner to my circumstances, a prisoner to my beliefs, a prisoner to my thoughts, a prisoner to other people's beliefs and thoughts and limitations and all these things. And then I finally realized there was a simple way, moment by moment, to transform from being a prisoner to being a true leader of self. And so my talks are all about the art of self-leadership and how we can do that inside of our own lives and inside of our businesses. And that's really fun to talk about.
So when in your life was the enough is enough day? Like there's a certain day or a certain time period you said, enough's enough, I'm taking control, I'm going to be my own leader. When did that officially happen?
Yeah. So it's funny because this day was a really interesting day, because it has to do with one facet of my life. But as we often see, I think, in our lives, when you unravel one thing, when you shake the carpet a little bit in one area, everything else starts to open up, and you see areas of opportunity for growth and things that maybe you've been overlooking in your life. So for me, that happened back in 2008. When I was the director of engineering and operations for a tech firm in Florida, and I had been in IT for a long time. I was in my late 20s, doing really well, making six figures. I mean, by all accounts, doing really, really well. And it's also the time in my life where I was 332 pounds, right? I was at my highest weight. I was 35% body fat, which is like insane. And I had been big my entire life. Like I was 250 pounds when I was 15.
Wow.
And when you're 15, that's when kids are just really loving and accepting and never make fun of you because of the way you look. So that was always fun. So yeah, I had been big my whole life, so I was used to it, but it always really weighed very heavily on me, not just in physical weight, but in emotional and mental weight. And there was one day in particular where I was at my desk at work, and I went to go make a purchase on Amazon. I'm a big sock person. I don't know if you can see my I love socks. I'm a sock person. It's like, guys, we don't have a whole lot to be like fashionable, right? So I got to go with socks. So I was online and I was trying to buy some socks from Amazon, and my card got declined. And I didn't understand why, because I said $100,000 plus a year, $70 order of socks was not going to break the bank. So I was just, at that point in my life, I was super angry, and I would fly off the handle no matter, anything happened. I could spill water or burn my house down, and the same anger would come out. And so I storm out of my office, and I grab my cell phone, and I stomp into the lobby of our office building, and I call my bank, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? Like, why was my card declined? I know there's money in the bank. And I got this guy, I remember his name is Steven. Steven was my guy. I had to match 50 times to get a live person. But once I finally got a live person, I got Steven on the line. I said, Steven, what's going on, dude? Like, I'm trying to make this purchase. Why are you guys doing this to me? Even there, right, being a prisoner, why are you doing this to me, right? Like, not taking responsibility for anything. And he said, well, let me check your account. He does some typing, and he says, well, it looks like there was some potentially fraudulent activity on your account, so we shut down your card for your protection so we could look at the charges. And so now I'm like extra pissed, like, who hacked my account? Who's stealing my money? Who are these idiots? What are they buying? And so again, he types away and he says, well, Mr. Goldberg, it looks like there were 4 fast food transactions in one day across Orlando. And so we figured somebody had stolen your credit card and they were testing it at different locations. But it wasn't anybody that had stolen my card. I had eaten at 4 fast food restaurants in a single day. And it took $1 billion bank to tell me that I was an out of control fat ass and I needed to be cut off. And in that moment, they cut me off. And so I tried so hard to find in that moment someone else to blame and someone else to put this on, so I didn't have to take personal responsibility for it. And I couldn't. And that was my burning platform where I said, holy crap, this is me. Like, I am the problem. And it took me a while to figure this out. But the great thing about if I'm the problem, then I'm also the solution. And so that was the day that I said, I'm going to start exhibiting real personal responsibility, real courage, real self-leadership, and take control back.
Wow. That's a great story. That is really.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
I mean, you hear it all the time, but it's interesting how life just put it there for you. And like, here you are. I mean.
But you have to listen, right?
Exactly.
Life had been telling me for years, but I wasn't listening. So it gets to a point where you have this burning platform where your only choice is to either be engulfed in flames or to jump.
Right.
Right? And so that was the moment where I decided to jump. And even that, Dennis, even when I took control of my physical weight and ended up losing this 130 pounds over the next 2 years, I still carried around a lot of other weight. Right. It wasn't physical weight, but it was all this other mental weight that I had to work on releasing over time. And that's where, personal development and being coached and introspection and testing and being more playful, all these things that I espouse and live by now are the ways that I'm able to transform and kind of keep the weight from coming back in all aspects of my life, if that makes sense.
No, and 2008 wasn't that far ago. I mean, that was not only that was like a very trying time in our history of the America too. It's like almost a Great Depression kind of thing. There's still people recovering from that. It's just, and so to go through that then, and you took it into a positive, and other people are just still blaming it. They're still blaming 2008. It's like the blame of 2008. But we all had control of it. We all could have took advantage of things, and you just kind of took things by the horns and said enough's enough. And I loved what you said about listening. I've been really working on that a lot lately, and I've always had a problem with being. They call me multitask, and I was always running around doing everything, and I just wasn't really listening to anybody. I was taking it in. Don't get me wrong, but I was just not like you and I are talking right now. We're exchanging energy. We're talking, and I've really learned that in the last 3 or 4 months is just to listen to people and talk back and listen and talk back. Maybe it's because of this podcast, But I was in a bar the other night, and I was at a happy hour thing or whatever, and I was talking to this girl, and she said, you're a really good listener. And it just like, I almost want to cry because here I am finally listening to somebody, and I was actually listening to her say that, you know what I mean? So, you get so caught up in everything, your phone and this and that. And it's like, wow, just listening to yourself, listening to people, and making adjustments is really how we get ourselves out of these holes. You know, it really is, you know?
I
So
love that. I love that you were able to really slow down because it's really about slowing down. And, for people like me that are really high energy and talk really fast, it may seem like I don't have a grasp of slowing down. And it's still a challenge for me. But when we really are able to be present in the moment and really just slow everything down, like almost like you actually have a remote control, like that, who was Adam Sandler had that remote, that Click.
yeah.
That movie, Click, and he could actually fast forward and rewind and pause, and slow things down. Like if we could really hit a button to slow things down in our lives, we would see so much more in our interactions with people. We would see so many more opportunities in front of us. We would see so many ways to get through or get around or get something from the challenges that we face. It's all about really slowing down. So I celebrate you for doing that, man. That's a beautiful accomplishment on your part.
It really, really is a huge accomplishment. And I'm really trying to promote that a lot right now. It's like, stop and listen. And I don't know if you've seen any of my commercials on Facebook that I've been putting as listen. Are you listening? And the world has opportunity in front of us everywhere. Right now, something's happening. Something on my desk has opportunity. It's around us everywhere. You just have to, I mean, your story is such a contribution to that.
Yeah.
And I mean, you just finally stopped and listened. You got out of that mess and you're like, oh my God, I was the one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You listened to it. You actually listened. And if you were not listening, it would just been a roller coaster of more disaster, or more stress, more of this. But it's when we just stop and just take in, okay, own this or change this, and it's pretty awesome.
Well, and that's the thing too, is that, one of the questions I get a lot after I deliver talks on the art of self-leadership is, well, how can I make sure that I'm a self-leader 100% of the time? And it's a question I can't answer because I haven't done that. Like, I don't believe that that's an option, because that's saying that being a self-leader or being a prisoner is your personality. And I don't believe in permanent personalities, right? I believe that we flex and we can move in any given moment. So are there moments where I'm still a prisoner to a circumstance or to a person or to a conversation? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, because I'm a human.
Yeah.
But what I do now through practice is I'm able to realize much more quickly, hey, I'm in prisoner mode and I have a choice right now. I can either go down the road of prisoner and be okay with that. I'm not going to beat myself up.
Yeah.
I can go down the road of prisoner, or I can say, what would be a more productive interpretation of what's happening in my world right now that would help me take back my own power, have me really step back into self-leadership. And that is literally a moment by moment decision. So if you've been a prisoner, anybody listening, or you or me 10 seconds ago, doesn't matter. That's a point on the calendar. It's a piece of information. It's historical. It means nothing. You have the next moment to change and to be a self-leader going forward.
And exactly what you said is what I was telling about my software, the mind expansion tool. It talks about exactly that. It's if you practice those moments and research and stop yourself, like you said, you now have the tool, and I have the tool too that I've recently obtained, is you can stop yourself in that moment and go, okay, I can do this the wrong way, or I can do this the right way, and I can own it this way and I can own it that way. And again, we're not perfect, but I love how you said that, because it's so true. I mean, to just have that tool to be able to capture that you're doing that is everything.
Yeah, and it's something to keep in mind too. Like, I'm big into language, and I mean, a big piece of what I do when I speak is talk about the language that a prisoner uses and the language a self-leader uses. But one of the things that I try to keep front of mind for myself, and a lot with my clients especially, is the whole right or wrong thing. Like, the prisoner and self-leader thing is not a wrong and right thing. You're not wrong if you choose to be a prisoner, and you're not right if you choose to be a self-leader. Instead of working in right and wrong, I would invite people to look at the choices they make in their life as more effective versus less effective. Yeah. Because right and wrong has guilt and shame attached to it. It's an indictment of who you are and what you do, and that doesn't serve us. There's never been anybody in the world that I believe has been served by beating themselves up. If beating yourself up was going to work, it would have worked by now. Yeah. And it doesn't. So instead of saying like, oh man, I was a prisoner, that was wrong, the way I reacted was wrong. Well, maybe the way you reacted just wasn't as effective as another way you could have reacted or responded. And so I think it's good to keep that in mind so we don't beat ourselves up.
Replacing words, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That language is huge. Language is tremendously impactful in our world.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we're already 8 minutes past our 20-minute marker, but we did so damn good today that I didn't want to stop us. So
nice. Well, I'm glad it was helpful.
Yeah, this has been really good. I think we've got a lot of great things to share here today with everyone, and hopefully the listeners will have learned a lot here today. Is there anything you want to say about you and your company, or anything you want to promote here today, or give some advice to anybody out there that
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean, I'm happy to connect with anybody that wants to learn more about, the art of self-leadership. I can provide, a bunch of resources on that. And I have a great web show that I do a lot of this stuff on called The Not So Serious Life.
right.
And so you can actually see that on the notsoseriouslife.com. It's me and my mentor, friend, and coach, a guy named Steve Chandler, who has also coached Christina Berkeley and is just an amazing guy, amazing author of, 30 plus books and just a tremendous guy and a guy who's taught me a lot of what I know and what I teach today. So the Not So Serious Life is a lot of fun. You can catch me at meometry.com. And I'm also really big on Facebook, and I make it really easy for people to connect with me on Facebook. If you literally go to facebookjason.com, it will just redirect you to my Facebook page. So you don't have to go trying to search for me on Facebook. But yeah, if anybody wants to continue the conversation, or there's anything here where you said, yeah, okay, I get that, or yeah, that's really cool, I want to learn more, just, shoot me a message and I'll send you anything I can that'll help you on your journey.
That's awesome. So awesome. I truly appreciate you coming on my show. You don't even know, this has been great. And,
my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you never know what's going to come out of the RMLs on a podcast, and I think a lot of good things came out here today. And I'm just so excited for the journey you have going on and the things you got going on. I'm sure we're going to be in connection even more now that
yeah, definitely
have this chance to talk and hopefully work together in some other ways. And but listeners, I appreciate all you guys out there for listening here today. I know I have a lot of friends out there listening continuously, and just got a few more Facebook reviews, iTunes reviews on my podcast the other day. So I've been working hard to get some of those too. So anybody out there who have done that lately, I appreciate that as well. We are coming into 2016, and we talked about our why today. Why do you want to do the things you want to do, or why do you want to be who you want to be, or why do you want that new Mercedes? Dig into that, and as Jason says, enjoy the path instead of make it a struggle. In my life, sometimes I made it homework. Try not to make it work. And I learned that today on this podcast myself. And we learned a lot about, just overcoming things and just looking at things and listening in a new way. And so we learned a lot here. This is a value bomb podcast for sure.
And Dennis, can I offer one extra thing to your listeners? I just thought of this. If anybody wants to dig more into the why, I wrote an ebook that's called Mastering Your Entrepreneurial DNA. And it's all about finding your core values and your why. So if anybody from the show would like a copy of that for free, just email me, jason@meometry.com, and say that you heard this on the 5-Minute Bark. And I'm happy to give you a copy of that completely free.
Oh, there you go. See that? We got some free stuff for you today. So,
swag.
Yeah. All right. So listeners, thank you so much. Jason, thank you so much for coming on the show. And we are out of here, everybody. Bye.
Peace.
Peace. Woo. One critical thing highly successful people do is organize their goals and write them down. Success doesn't just happen to you, it's created by you. If you are ready to create a roadmap to greater success, you may want to listen to what I'm about to say. We have developed an online success platform that offers 6 critical tools for creating and implementing your success plan. If you're ready to turbocharge your personal development and success in every area of your life, it's time for you to join Team Cody Dog by visiting codydog.com. That's CODIEDOG.com.